The Martellus map convinced Columbus that China was much closer than it really was. Following Ptolemy's calculations, Martellus underestimated the circumference of the Earth, and it turned out to be a massive 7,000 miles wider than he thought.
What we're missing totally here is the full extent of the Atlantic, the whole of the Americas and the Pacific Ocean.
Quite a lot we're missing.
Ptolemy didn't know anything about it.
Exactly.
He sort of guessed it'd be 21, maybe 28 days, ended up being 35, but you know, in 21 days he's going to reach China. Well, that's okay, according to the distance he's calculated to be, but he passes that distance and it's still empty ocean, and the days go on, one after another, still no land, still not sighting anything, crew getting fed up, hey, we don't want to die here. Here I am, 25 days at sea, on my own. I haven't seen a ship now for well over a week. And I think I've got about 1,000 miles to go. And at this speed, oh, I'll make it in about 10 days, I expect, maybe 11. Cheers. He just goes on until he starts saying, birds, wait a minute, they've got to come from land. Watch where they go at night, because they always go home at night. Okay, that's where land is.
About 20 minutes ago, at 8:20 exactly, I sighted some land. And at first I wasn't sure, but now I'm absolutely sure it is land. It's up to the northwest, and I expected it to be down to the southeast, if anything.
Sir Robin Knox Johnston made land after 34 days at sea. Columbus and his crew took a day longer.
For Columbus, it now seemed that the riches of the East were spread out before him. He eagerly went ashore in an armed boat and was greeted by crowds of curious local people, eager to see the new arrival.
Columbus named the new territory San Salvador. We now know it's an island in the Caribbean. Columbus was convinced he'd landed in China, and he had no idea that his massive miscalculation would make him the most famous explorer in history.
Columbus had discovered a new continent, America. But such was the power of his belief in the map that he was using, that he went to his grave 14 years later, still convinced that he'd discovered a western passage to Asia. To this day, we still celebrate Columbus as the discoverer of America, but it was a place that he never believed even existed.
When Columbus returned to Europe, the map of the world was redrawn.
This strange but incredibly beautiful map is the first ever that records the land discovered by Columbus on his first voyage. You can see here the Bahamas and over here San Salvador. It was made by Juan de la Cosa, who went with Columbus on his first voyage and all his subsequent expeditions to the New World. It was probably made to show to the Spanish sovereigns, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, back here in Spain, to give them a sense of the extent of the New World over here to the west. And as if to emphasize the point, the New World is like this big verdant green claw, in complete contrast to the rest of the map, giving the Spaniards a sense of entitlement, the enticement of the New World.
As European powers vied for control of these lucrative new territories, maps became vital tools in a global struggle for dominance. In 1502, an Italian undercover agent smuggled this map out of Portugal. It shows all the new Portuguese discoveries, from India to the Persian Gulf, East Africa to Brazil. But like all maps of this era, it marks the vast new world in the West as largely uncharted territory. In 1503, an Italian explorer published a set of pamphlets announcing his own discoveries in the New World. His name was Amerigo Vespucci.
Vespucci wrote, "And so we sailed on till we reached a land which we deemed to be a continent, which is distant westwardly from the Isles of Canary, beyond the inhabited regions." This was a groundbreaking statement because maps of the time suggested that the New World was somehow connected to Asia. All of these maps show that New World without a complete west coast. They are somehow joining that New World to Asia. So Vespucci's claim to have discovered a separate fourth continent was completely at odds with what everybody really believed.
Vespucci's description of a fourth continent fired the imagination of a German mapmaker, Martin Waldseemüller. In 1507, he incorporated its outline into a pioneering new work.
Waldseemüller's map is absolutely vast, much bigger than this projection actually shows. When these 12 printed sheets are all stuck together, it stands 1.5 meters tall and 2.5 meters wide. And that was deliberate because Waldseemüller wanted this map to hang on the great aristocratic courtly walls of Europe.
No European had yet seen the ocean on the far side of the New World, but here it was shown by Waldseemüller for the first time.
In contrast to all the other maps showing the latest discoveries, this continent is shown completely surrounded by water. It's totally navigable. This is the first map ever that shows America as a separate fourth continent. And Waldseemüller labels it for the very first time, down here, America, in honor of Amerigo Vespucci.
The only surviving copy of Waldseemüller's map of the world was bought by the US Library of Congress in 2003.
It was the first document of any kind that introduces the word America to the world.
The map is now known as America's birth certificate.